Revenge films.
My name is Millie. I got divorced 3 years ago, and I now raise my 6-year-old daughter as a single mother. The reason for my divorce was because my ex-husband, Chris, cheated on me. He cheated on me with my mom friend from my daughter's kindergarten. My mom friend, Chelsea, was always jealous of me, who graduated from a prestigious university and married an elite, and she made a move on my husband knowing I was married to him. At first, my ex was annoyed by how pushy she was, but he quickly fell for her when she used her female charms on him, and he asked me to divorce him, saying,
"I found my true love."
Once we got a divorce, she told me, "I'll pay you as much compensation money as you want, so just leave this house already." And she moved into the top floor of the high-rise condominium where my family used to live. She abandoned her 3-year-old baby so easily, gave up his custody, and got remarried to my ex-husband. Because of that, my daughter had to move kindergartens, and we moved back close to my parents' house. I used to be a housewife, so I frantically looked for a job while I made a living from the compensation money. My mom, who saw my struggles, introduced me to a job. My mom was a famous designer, and she had been successful not only within the country, but overseas, and she spent a busy life going back and forth from one country to another. I had experience of studying abroad and learning another language, so I was able to use my skills to help my mom. Thanks to that, 3 years after my divorce, my life is now stable, and I live a happy life with my daughter. One day I received a call from an unknown number during work. I thought it was from someone related to work, but turns out it was Chelsea. She asked me if we could meet up because there was something important she wanted to discuss. I thought it might be serious, so when I went to the bar where we arranged to meet, I found Chelsea dressed in branded clothing top to bottom, which kind of made me cringe. When I asked, "What do you want all of a sudden?" she replied as if to look down on me. "Come on, join me for a drink. I'll pay. It must be hard to make a living as a single mother." I refused, saying I don't drink, and when I told her that I wanted her to tell me what she had to say as soon as possible, she said, "Actually, I got a divorce with Chris half a year ago." My ex was lured into cheating on me with Chelsea's sexiness, so I kind of figured they'd get a divorce soon, and it was no surprise for me. But then the next thing she said really took me by surprise. Once she babbled all about getting a divorce after he cheated on her, she said, "Now this is the main part." As she smirked, she said, "I stole your husband again." I wasn't remarried or anything, so when I asked her, "What do you mean?" "Joe, who you got remarried to, is a very rich elite, right? So I lured him into using my sexiness again, and he fell for me," she said as she laughed. As soon as I heard his name, I realized that she was having a misunderstanding, but I didn't tell Chelsea, and deciding to keep the upper hand, I left the bar saying I had something to do. I went to my parents' house directly after that, and my mom, who had been taking care of my daughter, greeted me with a smile. "Welcome home." I simply said to my mom, "He was cheating after all." Actually, Joe, who Chelsea had mentioned about stealing, was my mom's partner who she got remarried to. I had lost my dad to an illness when I was still small, and I grew up in an environment with just my mom and I. After I left the house once I got married, my mom remarried a man who was more than 10 years younger than her, and she gave him the position of the CEO. The two of them worked together to make the company bigger, but he was starting to leave work often, and he was spending nights out more often. Seeing her not know what to do, I gave her advice to get a divorce as soon as she got a hold of evidence if he was really cheating on her. Then Chelsea invited me for dinner and told me the truth. As soon as my mom found out that he was cheating on her, she instantly decided to get a divorce, and she started to get ready to ask them for compensation money. To get evidence at the best timing, I asked her to meet me, and I decided to record our conversation. But Chelsea contacted me again first, so I didn't have to reach out to her. She invited me to the same bar as before, so when I entered the bar, as I pressed the record button on my phone, I saw Chelsea gesturing her hand to come sit with her at the back of the bar. When I sat next to her, she straightforwardly said, Listen, I got pregnant with your husband's baby." Then continued, "I gave it some consideration and I felt sorry for you to be dumped by your husband twice, so you can stay as a housemaid. If you don't want your husband to divorce you, you better look after our kids." I checked if our conversation was recorded and said, thanks. Now it's finally time to get a divorce. Chelsea looked confused when I said that. Then, well, you can get a divorce if you want, but your working as a housemaid isn't a bad offer. I know it's hard to make a living if you're back to being a single mother again, she said. Back to being a single mother? I never got remarried in the first place. The guy you had an affair with is my mom's husband. I told her the truth. As Chelsea laughed, she said, Okay, I won't believe your lies. I saw you come out of your fancy house with Joe so many times. I asked her when she saw me, and it was just when I was helping my mom with her work at home because she was so busy. I did spend a lot of time with Joe, such as when I walked our dogs, so I guess Chelsea misunderstood. She investigated the people around me as soon as she got a divorce with her husband, and she ended up misunderstanding. I ignored Chelsea, who never bothers to listen about what I'm trying to tell her. I headed home to see my mom. I handed her the recordings, and she quickly gave that to her lawyer and demanded a divorce from Joe. When she questioned Joe, he revealed that he secretly met up with Chelsea using his work hours and that he used the company's money to pay for their meals. After my mom found out that he was cheating on her using the company's money, she divorced him and fired him at the same time. She demanded compensation money from him and kicked him out of the house. A few days later, Chelsea visited my mom's house. "This is Joe's house. You better leave now that you got a divorce," she screamed in front of our house. My mom and I were coincidentally both there, so we told her the truth and told her that we fired him. Because Joe is the CEO and lived in a huge house, she assumed that she'll get to live in it if she marries Joe. She fell onto her knees when she found out about everything, and she soullessly said, "No way." Joe was left with nothing after he paid compensation money. They decided that they had no money to look after their baby, so they came to a decision to get an abortion. Now that he was jobless, he claimed to go back to his hometown to look for a job, left Chelsea, moved back alone, and then he disappeared. Chelsea was all alone, and out of loneliness, she asked her first ex if she can meet her kids, but he obviously refused. Chelsea was left with nothing. And I heard she barely makes a living by selling branded goods her ex bought for her. In my case, after Joe was fired, I became the new CEO at my mom's company, and now we work together, mother and daughter. The company was making more profit after I became the CEO, so I thought I might be better at work than romance, and I became more confident at work. Once Joe left the house, I moved in with my mom, and we now hired a housemaid, living a happy life as a family of 3 with my mom and daughter. Looks like my mom and I don't have good taste in men, so I decided to focus on work for now. I don't want my daughter to deal with any bad guys, so I sincerely hope she'll learn to choose the right people.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.